Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. And in today's jam-packed video, we will discuss an update when it comes to Joe Toussaint, the West Virginia guard transfer, and his official visit to the Red Raiders. We'll also discuss Dishon Jackson making it official and decommitting from Texas Tech and returning to Charlotte and what exactly that means for the Texas Tech roster. But before we do that, I've got to ask you, simply like the video if you're enjoying this Texas Tech men's basketball content. Trying to give it to you daily, even twice a day if some breaking news happens. So stay in the know by simply liking the video, and then while you're at it, hit that subscribe button as well. All right, let's jump into the news, as there was a Joe Tipton tweet that came out last night. Tipton Edits is what you may know him as. And it's a bit of a turn in a positive way, in my opinion, for the Red Raiders. Joe Toussaint was scheduled to go to Kansas State early this week, actually be there right now at the time of this recording on Tuesday, June 27th, 2023. But instead, he has flipped it, and now Texas Tech will get that official visit first, and he is on his way currently to the 806. Now, why is this a big deal? You've seen the track record of Grant McCasland and what he's done when he's gotten guys on campus, right? He's 5 for 5, sure. Dishon Jackson committed and then decommitted. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But he's 5 for 5 when he has official visits, right? And they are heavily interested in the guard from West Virginia. And what this tells me for Texas Tech is they are dead set on running and gunning this season, trying to get out into space as much as possible, not playing slow. They can play in the half court, but they want to get out and transition as much as possible. And Joe Toussaint was one of the better guards last year in the Big 12 when it came to transition basketball. Now, I'll be honest with you. I would not be surprised at all if we saw a commitment from Joe Toussaint when it came to Texas Tech. And you look at what the scholarship numbers look like, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in detail later on in the video. But if he did commit to Texas Tech, again, a big if right now, he'd take the final scholarship for the Red Raiders, and you would be talking about a 4-guard lineup that included Pop Isaacs leading the way. Then you'd have Joe Toussaint, Lamar Washington, and then Chance McMillan. I would not be shocked at this point whatsoever if you see Lamar Washington with his size at 6'4", 210, 215 play the 3 spot for Texas Tech. I think they're going to want to be as guard heavy as possible, get out in transition, have Darion play the 4, Warren at the 5, Kyron at the 5. They want to see that type of stuff. And that's what we're thinking about in terms of, okay, if Toussaint does commit, what would that look like? And I think it's just that. So I do want to ask you guys this question before we talk about Dishon Jackson and his decommitment from Texas Tech. Would you like to see the Red Raiders land the commitment of Joe Toussaint? Just a simple Y for yes or N for no. You know it's going to be the pinned comment down below, but just simply let me know, would you like to see Texas Tech land the commitment of West Virginia guard Joe Toussaint from the transfer portal? Just a simple Y for yes or N for no. All right, let's jump into the Dishon Jackson news, as he officially announced yesterday that he decommitted from Texas Tech and then recommitted to the University of Charlotte. Now, simple and plain, I'm not going to get into the details of why this happened. It is not my place to say the specifics of it, but the overall reason why was because of medical concerns, a medical issue. I'm not going to go into detail on that. But now Texas Tech does have one scholarship remaining. Obviously, Joe Toussaint is on campus right now. Maybe he takes that, maybe he doesn't, right? But when you look at it, this opens one spot for Texas Tech. It would have been nice to have another big, but I don't think it's a necessity. I think this coaching staff does not mind having these 5 guys go into the season, and those 5 guys are Warren Washington. You've got K'Ron Lindsey. You've also got guys like Darion Williams. You've got a guy in Devin Cambridge, right? You've got guys, including Robert Jennings as well. You've got 5 guys that can play in the front court if you're Texas Tech, right? And again, I get it. You only have one true traditional big in terms of size above 6'10" in Warren Washington. But I've stated this in other videos, and I think it's worth repeating. There's really only maybe 5, 6, and if you're pushing it, 7 impact bigs in the Big 12, and Texas Tech has one of them, right, in Warren Washington, okay? So I think playing smaller, collapsing playing four out, one in, and really having another guy collapse the boards with Warren Washington is the way Texas Tech is going to go, because that allows them to get back in transition defensively. It also allows them to get out in transition offensively. So I think it's a plus for Texas Tech in that regard. But again, from the perspective of losing Jackson, it sucks from the medical side, but it also does. I see the aspect of it if you're a Tech fan, in the sense of, hey, it would have been nice to have just another 6'10" guy on this roster. I get that, but I also think from everything I've heard, this is going to be a team that gets out, run and gun, try to find space, and when they're in the half-court setting, they'll play 4 out, 1 in, play pick-and-roll basketball, and really try to create space for their shooters from the outside and cutting lanes towards the basket for guys that are cutting, in terms of the Darion Williams of the world, the Chance McMillans, Pop, whoever it may be, Lamar Washington, right? Those are the kind of guys and what the offense is going to look like for Texas Tech this next year. All right. Let's talk about the roster, though. I talked about the big guys, right? And again, you got a guy in Devin Cambridge who I think was arguably, outside of Warren Washington, your biggest pickup of the offseason, who wasn't on the team last year. And the reason being is this. First and foremost, he's played with Warren Washington. That's a big deal, considering these guys may play in the front court together. But also, you got a guy like Devin Cambridge who plays at 6'6", right? Like, he's listed at 6'6", but he plays closer to 6'8", 6'9" with his athleticism, and his experience is pivotal in the front court, because you look at the front court guys that you have outside of Warren Washington, and they're going into their second year of college basketball, right? You got Robert Jennings, second year of college basketball. You got Lindsey, second year of college basketball. Darion Williams, second year of college basketball, significant jump in competition. That's not a knock on those guys. It's just a simple reality. So you get Devin Cambridge, a guy that is experienced in the front court, that can play multiple positions. Even at times, if you need him to, you can run a small ball lineup and he can be your 5. Is it ideal? Probably not, but you could do it. Right? I like the idea of him playing next to Warren Washington. I like the idea of him playing next to Kieran Lindsey at the 5 spot, right? Like, you got Lindsey at the 5 and then Cambridge at the 4. I like that. It'll get Texas Tech more space. These guys are both pick and roll guys, specifically Cambridge, right? And if you look at what Texas Tech has, this is going to be a guard-heavy team. And I don't mind that. Specifically, it looks like spacing has been a priority. You've got some cutters as well. But when you look at the guards on this team, all of them can shoot at a pretty substantially high level, right? We know what Pop can do, right? Kerwin Walton, that's what he was known for. Demarion Williams, that's what he's known for. Lamar Washington does need to improve, but he's a solid slasher, right? Obviously, Chance McMillan, higher rate shooter. Then you got Drew Steffi, right? You've got a lot of good shooters here in terms of what's going on for Texas Tech in terms of the roster. And I think that that's a big deal when you look at things, right? Because the simple fact is this: if you're Texas Tech, you need more shooting. They tried to do it last year. They didn't do a good job of it in terms of what was going on, in terms of spacing and actually getting these guys in the proper position to succeed. But I think they do that this year in terms of getting out into space. That's the plan as of right now, getting out into space, using your athleticism. And then if you are in the half-court setting, 4 out, 1 in with whoever the big is, whether that's Lindsey, whether that's Jennings, whether that's Washington, whoever it may be in that particular set. But again, I want to ask you one more time about Joe Toussaint. Would you like to see Texas Tech land the West Virginia guard transfer, Joe Toussaint, who is officially on campus as of today, June 27th, 2023? Just a simple Y for yes or in for no. Let me know. All right, I am RC Maxfield, reminding you, if you want the latest breaking news, rumors, and everything in between when it comes to Texas Tech men's basketball all year long, all you got to do is simply subscribe and like the video to stay in the know right here on the Back to 12 podcast channel.